I am Jeana Roth. I am a licensed counselor in working in both Illinois and Missouri. And I've been working alongside former Christian Scientists with FFCS as an honorary former member, or a non, and a guest teacher through the Get Wise programming. I'm working with the Get Wise track this weekend, and I just want to welcome you to another installment of Brain, Blood, Bones, and Other Material Elements. Nice. When we talk about hope and healing, they go hand in hand as we think about recovery from a high control group like Christian Science. Hope is the future-oriented part of our recovery. Hope involves envisioning a future, and healing involves rewiring our brains and reconnecting our body, mind, and emotions. In the Get Wise track this weekend, we'll be exploring the psychological recovery process and various aspects of hope and healing. But tonight I want to share a few tools that you can use regardless of which track you choose. First of all, let me just explain what triggers are. So if you've been a part of our Get Wise programming, this is likely a review, but remember, it's always good to review these things because that's how we learn, through repetition, right? And who knows, you might have the opportunity to help yourself or someone else this weekend. So I encourage you to just pay attention a little bit and grab onto something new this time. Every person has what's called a window of tolerance. So a window of tolerance, when functioning optimally, we're able to stay in that center section of the window of tolerance. That is where we can move up and down within that window while keeping the body and brain fully integrated. It's important to note that we can only do recovery work when we are inside this window. I'm just going to say that again. We can only do recovery work when we are inside of this window. A trigger happens when we become dysregulated due to overwhelming or triggering sensory input. It could be a sound, a picture, a memory, a feeling, something that makes it difficult for your brain to stay in the here and now. The trigger activates your sympathetic nervous system. It activates your sympathetic nervous system, causing your body to go into fight or flight mode. Fight, flight, freeze, fawn. We've expanded it since then, but that's the gist of it. As you can see in this diagram, and what I think is on the video, or on the screens as well, every system of your body is impacted when we leave our window of tolerance. Our sympathetic nervous system takes over. Our digestion, our breathing, our eyesight, our heart rate, and other internal organs undergo changes in order to prioritize survival. We're wired that way. That's the way we're supposed to be. We want to survive first and foremost. But to come back into the window of tolerance, we need to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. This is the one that goes from our body up to our brain. It's the green one on this side. We do this by calming exercises once we've assessed that there's no active threat. So let me give you an example. If I hear a really loud noise, I might immediately feel a panic and have a bodily response, especially if I have a history of being involved in a violent crime that was loud, right? My immediate response is to tense up, to feel afraid, but if I'm able to check my surroundings, and I'm able to assert that actually it's a holiday and what I'm seeing might actually be fireworks, what I'm hearing might actually be fireworks, I've now provided more context. I can use all of this new information and I can intentionally calm my nervous system. I can calm my body from the bottom up. I can slow down my breathing. I can do a grounding exercise. There's lots of things we can do. So there's lots of choice in using our parasympathetic nervous system. But that's what that might look like, is kind of calming your brain once you know that you're actually safe. Another way to think of this trigger process is to think of your actual brain. So the part of your brain that is responsible for fear responses is your amygdala. So actually, did you know that you're holding a copy of your brain right now? So can you hold your hand up like this with your thumb tucked inside? This is a good hand model of the brain. So where your thumb is touching your palm is where the amygdala would be located. And if you bring your fingers down, that represents your cortex or the prefrontal cortex. That's where our thinking happens. So as you curve your fingers down over your thumb, these fingers represent your prefrontal cortex, where you have cognitive thought and decision making. In your window of tolerance, your amygdala and your PFC are chemically connected, as represented by touching each other here in the hand model. As you leave your window of tolerance, these parts become disintegrated, and you flip your lid. We must learn to bring that PFC back online through a regulation exercise. So yes, this is kind of a humorous example, and our brain doesn't actually flip up, right? But chemically speaking, it does. It disconnects those two parts of the brain, and they're no longer talking the way we want them to. So let's do a couple exercises. Okay, these are going to be. You guys just had some sugar from dessert, right? So we're gonna use some of that sugar, and we're gonna move a little bit. So we're gonna do a lot of breathing and grounding. We do a lot of that within the Get Wise programming. But today I'm going to teach you a breathing tool that I've been using a lot lately myself, and it's great for calming a trauma trigger. So the first step is to count how many seconds you're breathing in. That's it. Just count it. So as you breathe in, count 1, 2, 3. And then on the way out, you're going to try to double that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you breathe in for 3 seconds, you breathe out for 6. If you notice that you're increasing to 4 seconds, breathe out for 8, and so on. It's just a simple challenge. There's no right or wrong. There's no perfect here. Don't try to beat the system or get an A+. You're all winning if you're doing it. I promise. What this does is it allows your body to rebalance by spending more time in your parasympathetic nervous system than in your sympathetic nervous system. As you continue, you will notice that your heart rate will lower and your muscles will become less tense. So again, we're going to use the body's systems. The sympathetic nervous system activates when we're triggered, and the parasympathetic nervous system comes online to calm it. Another tool is to use grounding or attuning to sensory information in your immediate environment. You may have done the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 exercise, but it doesn't even have to be that complicated. So just focus on one of your 5 senses. Our 5 senses, come on, help me out. What are our 5 senses? Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and touching. Okay, so using one of those 5 senses. So if you want to come by the Get Wise track, I'm not above bribery, so we have candy and chocolate and mints up there. You're welcome to come on by and grab some things. Or there's some chocolates on the table or mints on the table. Grab something around you. That's a sensory input. Having something to taste is sensory input. And when we do that, when we focus on that fully, we stay in the here and now. That keeps us out of the past and out of those memories that might be triggering, and it keeps us out of the future or those things that might feel overwhelming as we feel anxious towards the future. If other options are to grab a fidget toy if you have one of those, or in our room upstairs we have some little aromatherapy jars, so just finding something else to focus on in terms of sensory input, okay? So by putting you back into the driver's seat, you are taking active steps towards recovery and healing through brain-body integration. You do not have to be controlled by your triggers. But oftentimes, our triggers, especially the ones we don't realize we're having, become a real impediment to our recovery process. So we will be going into all of this in much more detail and exploring some things with the brain and the nervous system in the Get Wise track this weekend. But I hope these simple tools will be useful for everybody as you begin to notice if you're leaving your window of tolerance, how you might be able to get back into that window of tolerance. So thank you for hanging with me through another episode of Brain, Blood, Bones, and Other Material Elements. I look forward to engaging with as many of you as possible this weekend as you continue on your journey towards recovery.